Hey guys, good evening. Enter the stars. And I believe that we've gotten down to the bottom of what exactly the Sphinx headdress means in relationship to the post offices. Now, just a quick recap. We talked about how the post office buildings in Dallas, Texas, as well as at Ground Zero, New York, are shaped like a sphinx. Let's pull up a couple pictures of this really quickly. Now, these post offices in these two cities exist in an orientation laid out like Giza. There are three buildings laid out like the Belt of Orion, like the three pyramids in Egypt, in very close proximity to these post offices. And the post offices, as I've shown in previous videos, exist in the exact spot where the Sphinx of Egypt would be in relationship to its three pyramids. So we have an overlay. We have a perfect overlay of what is going on. Now, why is this important? Why are we talking about this? Because we are beginning to uncover exactly what these post offices and their relationships to the Sphinx may be. And I believe that the Sphinx headdress is in fact the address, and that all this points back to the posts, the doorposts, post office, doorpost, of the Hebrews, Israelites that were in bondage in Egypt, and now they had to mark their doorposts to account for the Passover, so that the Lord would pass over their houses and not kill their children, only if they observed the rules of the Lord, in anticipation of the mass exodus out of Egypt. Let's take a look at Dallas post office. But what you're going to see here is that this post office is laid out like the Sphinx, and we have the three pyramids in Egypt as well. Here's the post office here. As you can see, this is it here. Zoom in on it. It is laid out like the Sphinx with the two arms coming out and the headdress, the address. These two buildings are the Twin Towers. This third building is a communications building laid out like a pyramid. This is your Belt of Orion. And this is the Sphinx laid out in a similar fashion to Giza. Now we go to the World Trade Center and look at its post office. Here again, the Belt of Orion, the two empty Twin Towers, the new Freedom Tower, and again in the same location as the other post office, we have another post office that also looks like a rudimentary form of the Sphinx headdress of Egypt. And now we go to the Bible, because this is where things get amazing. Exodus 12. And God talks about instructions for the Israelites. He said, "And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year for you. Speak ye unto the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers." Now this is interesting, because the Hebrew New Year was 9/11. The Hebrew New Year was 9/11 in 6 BC. That is the day that the Hebrew New Year fell on. And this is talking about the beginning of the months of the year, before God gives instructions to the Hebrews. And he says, "If your household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next in unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your account for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male the first year. You shall take it from the sheep or from the goats." And I believe that this lamb represented the Lamb of Christ to come in the Passover, the future Passover that Christ would tell us to do in remembrance of him. And ye shall keep it up unto the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening, and they should take it of the blood and strike it on the two side posts, the post office, and on the upper door posts of the house. And they shall eat the flesh of the night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and the blood. This is my body, and this is my blood. This was the first Passover. And with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire his head with his legs, with the pureness thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it unto the morning ye shall burn with fire. And thus ye shall eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on, and your feet, and your staff in your hand. And ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses for which you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague should not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast of the Lord throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast of the ordinance forever. He talks about the 7 days and the passing over. And it shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, what mean ye by this service, postal service, that ye shall say, it is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses, delivered the male. And the people bowed the head and worshipped. And the children of Israel went away and did as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass that at midnight the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. And he called for Moses and Aaron by night, and said, rise up and get you forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go serve the Lord, as you have said. Also take your flocks and your herds, and be gone, and bless me also. And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste. For they said, we be all dead men. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading troughs being bound up in the clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. This is why we have a post office. Do you have the address of life, or do you have the address of death? Will the Lord pass over your house? Is your post, the posts of your door, marked with the blood of the Lamb? And here we gain more clues as the Israelites journeyed out of Egypt because of the judgment that God had enacted upon the Egyptians of the doorposts and the firstborn of the Egyptians being killed. And as they journeyed out from Ramses to Sukkoth, about 600,000 on foot, there were men and women. They went out, a mixed multitude of them in their flocks and herds, and they baked unleavened cakes. And now, as we look at the alignment of the Great Pyramids, here it is, here. It is pointing at 42 degrees. And where are the Great Pyramids pointing to as they frame the Nile Delta perfectly on this eastern side? Where is the Great Pyramid pointing to? Where are the pyramids pointing to? They are pointing to the route after the Israelites left Egypt, the route from Ramses to Succoth, as we just read in the Bible. It is pointing to the route of the first Exodus after the postman came and enacted judgment, the holy postman, delivering the mail of judgment, mail meaning mal or bad. So now you know the truth. For everything that God does that is good, there's an evil equal counterpart. And now we see that the pyramids are pointing to the route of the Exodus between Ramses and Succoth. Now this is the Exodus route here. And now you're probably wondering where the Sphinx is pointing to. And this is where things get interesting. Because the Sphinx, as we see here, is aligned to the cardinal points. It is aligned to roughly 90 degrees. And when we draw a line out 90 degrees from the Sphinx, an amazing thing happens. This is the Sphinx. We're going to carry this line out 90 degrees and see where this line points. And of course, the final Exodus culminated in the crossing of the Red Sea. And of course, this is the Red Sea here, the tip of it. This entire portion here is the Red Sea, and the 90-degree angle of where the Sphinx is looking to. The headdress Sphinx with the address. The address of the headdress is pointing to the very tip of the Red Sea. The same Red Sea that the Israelites would cross into the Holy Land. And now you know the truth. And then in another amazing revelation, as after God has explained to the Israelites that he delivered them out of the land of Egypt, he talks about a memorial between thine eyes, that the Lord's law may be in thy mouth, for with a strong hand hath the Lord brought thee out of Egypt, between their eyes. And he also talks about keeping ordinances, and that he shall set apart unto the Lord all that open the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beast which thou hast, which is birth, the males shall be the Lord's. Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever openeth the womb, open the matrix among the children of Israel, both of man and beast. It is mine, man and beast. Thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beast which thou hast, the males shall be the Lord's. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that the Lord slew all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I sacrifice to the Lord all that openeth the matrix, being males, but all the firstborn of my children I redeem. And it shall be for a token upon thine hand, and for frontlets between thine eyes. For by strength of the hand of the Lord brought us forth out of Egypt. And we told you in previous videos how the parting of the Red Sea is an analogy of the hyaloid canal parting through the vitreous humor of the eye. And here we get more details about the eyes and the single eye between thine eyes. And this, I believe, is the bottom of the mystery of the Sphinx. This is the post and lintel, the lintel being the top portion of the door, which God said to mark the blood of the Lamb on the lintel. And here it is, in detail. Take care and be safe, you guys.